This is a SEO test I did to find the indexable zones in HTML tags. So what do I mean by this? I'm going to show you a quick little example. So let's say you have your website and you have just like a little bit of HTML, right? So let's just do a title tag. Let's just put a space here, then we'll close it off. So this is HTML for title tag. And so for this test, what I would do is I would put a keyword in between these two HTML tags. Then I would wait for the page I put it on to be indexed by Google, and then I would search that keyword on that URL and see if Google indexed it or would show a result. Now, how this works is that I did it for all the HTML tags. So I'll zoom in a little bit here. I'll also move this over just a little bit so that we can see, it's a little bit easier to see the information. So for HTML tag, I put this keyword in there. For this whole website, I did a whole bunch of prehistoric plankton just because it's a low competition. Um, there's not a lot of content out there about it. And so it made it easy to find a whole bunch of different keywords that I could easily to appear in search. So what I did is each individual HTML tag, right? So I just scrolled down there. There's 130 of them. I would put a different keyword in there, right? So then I also needed 130 different keywords. Now this page was indexed, and then I would search on Google. So a regex you can do if you didn't know for searching. So let's do a site that's actually, let's do like YouTube. So whenever you do this regex in Google, it will only search YouTube the domain, so like youtube.com. Or if we did my company's website, pensacolaseocompany.com, we can see everything that it's indexed in Google, right? And then we can keep going. Like, oh, okay, so I've got 20 pages indexed in Google, or actually 18. Then we keep going. And basically what we're just seeing is all the content that Google has indexed for that domain, right? And then what we can also do is we can add to this in quotations a keyword. So we can do SEO. And then now this is going to show us all the pages that have the keyword SEO. Then we can also do, let's say, let's try. And then now notice how there's not that many more pages. It only, well, actually, I have Louisiana in my footer, so that's why we're still getting all of the pages. So then let's see, let's do a business. Or I think I might have laundromat in my footer, so it's probably still gonna pop up for all the pages. Yeah, it is. So we'll just cancel. We'll stop looking at this, but just look at quick regex that you can do on your own site to see how many pages Google has indexed is a site colon and then put your domain name in quotes. And then if you're looking to see, like, let's say you made a new page and you want to see specifically if that page is indexed, you could also change from the domain. You could do like a URL structure. So what you could do is like /services. And then if you had this URL and it was indexed, then appear right here. Now back to the HTML test. So I did every single HTML tag. So your title is indexable, your H1s all the way to H6 are indexable, your meta descriptions, image, body, paragraph. A title attribute is not indexable. Now, just because something's doesn't index doesn't mean that it can't help you rank. Now, that sounds kind of weird. You're like, wait a minute, what do you mean? So it if I search for that keyword and it's only in my A title attribute, then my page won't show up in the search results. Yeah, that's that's totally possible. That's what happened here. But now, let's say that you're competing on the total amount of keywords used on your page. So, one of the ranking factors is how many times someone uses a keyword, right? So, if you're a little bit behind on the total amount of the keyword you're using, what you can do is you can put in other locations if you're not trying to change the main body of the content, right? Let's say you made a really good page, you're looking over it, you're like, this is good, this is like perfect for a human to read. It gets the point across, it explains everything. I'm not really wanting to change much. Where are some other locations that I can put some keywords? Now, I'm not saying to do it in a title attribute. I'm just saying that from this test I did, it is a no index zone. What I have yet to do is another test is that is it a like ranking zone? And what I mean by that is, let's say I put the keyword in there like 10 times. Does that actually help boost my rankings? Because what can happen is that it can be non-indexable, right? No index zone, but it can also be a ranking factor, like a place where you can put more content or more keywords. And so what you end up having is kind of like a logic box, right? So you can have like known index, like so you have index and ranking. You can have known like negative index, but ranking. Well, I guess here we'll do positive, positive. So makes a little bit more sense. You can do indexed, but not a ranking factor. And then you can do not an indexing and it's not a ranking factor. And so this is kind of where SEO can get interesting and really complicated at the same time when we consider that something can be an indexing zone and be help you rank, but you can also have the total reverse, or you can have a mixed match. And so the next test I need to do for all of this is to figure out, can I put keywords like, let's say this one, block quote site ATTR. Can I put keywords in there and that will help my keyword density, which is a ranking factor, and will help me rank? Or are each of these individual HTML tags that are not indexable also not help with rankings? And so this is just one little test that I did, and it kind of gives you a better understanding of how Google works, how to optimize for search engine optimization, right? Something else to consider now is it makes sense that Google doesn't use all of these HTML tags, you know? There's right, rather it might be too complicated or it's just not used enough. It hasn't been used previously, so why would it be used going forward? So they would rather not waste, because you have to think about it, they have to crawl trillions of pages, right? So they would rather not waste all the time finding these, as an example, less used HTML tags. And so this is just a really interesting test that I ran. Is it makes you, every time you test, it also makes you like question like, oh, what else should I like? Then now I just get more and more ideas of what else should I be testing, right? Because now if I go to all the no ones, let's see, count this. I have 38 new tests to run, which is super interesting. Well, actually, it's more than 38 because if I use the logic box, it's probably it's more likely around 120. But then the other thing to consider is that I also need to test all the yeses too, if those are ranking factors. Um, and what really spiked my interest is this JSON-LD because we know schema is a ranking factor, but it's interesting that you won't appear, it won't index the search. It won't index the keywords in there to where you can be searched for them in Google search, which is just something else to think about.